Hi everyone, I want to show you something here. A lot of people know about Operation Popeye. This was the controlled weather in Vietnam and purposely inducing floods. So what I typed in to go to Operation Popeye was images of induced flooding in Vietnam War. So there is so much information, so I'm just going to make some general statements. And that is that the weather modification has never, ever stopped. Ever. And people who say that chemtrails or contrails and stuff, they do admit that weather modification is going on, and they see nothing wrong with it. So it's kind of a cognitive dissonance things where, like they say, okay, there are no such things as chemtrails, but there are contrails, but yes, weather modification is going on in the form of cloud seeding. Don't you find that strange? And I'll show you. Some of you know who Mick West is. He's a big-time chemtrail denier. So, in this article here about Operation Popeye, just look at this, just look at this last sentence here. The chemical weather modification program was conducted from Thailand over Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam, and allegedly sponsored by Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and CIA without the authorization of then Secretary of Defense Melvin Laird, who had categorically denied to Congress that a program for modification of the weather for use as a tactical weapon even existed. So, don't you find this so outrageous that such denial can take place, and also that Melvin Laird, who was Secretary of Defense, didn't know, or he didn't authorize this chemical weather modification program to go on, that was conducted and sponsored by Kissinger and the CIA. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So if we go to public revelation, it's I mean, people started to demand to know, but look at these objectives: softening road surfaces, causing landslides along roadways, washing out river crossings, maintaining saturated soil conditions beyond the normal time span. Okay, so they're doing that in Vietnam with their enemy, and now that they want to do whatever they want, wherever they want, in the whole wide world, everyone is the enemy, right? Okay, so here's public revelation, okay, in 1971, concerning Operation Popeye. Operation Popeye entered the public space through a brief mention in the Pentagon Papers. So, operations in Laos ceased 2 days after the publication of the Times article. So, weather modification procedures, when performed to achieve a military end, now fall under the province of the Environmental Modification Convention. So, okay, the point of this video is to keep it general. And keeping it general is that the weather modification has never stopped, ever. It's only advanced for purposes of governments to do whatever they want to do. All over the world, they're doing it. And then Project Storm Fury, this is really interesting because after reading this, I found out about a woman named Joanne Simpson. And Joanne Simpson is really an amazing person. And she's the first woman to receive a PhD in meteorology. So I want to show you something about her. And, you know, I mean, look, they've been doing this since, well, I don't know, I read a lot of this, so can't obviously read the whole entire thing to you, but, you know, what I'm just saying is it continues until now in a natural development evolution of this sort of research and technology, and that's just the way it is. That's how everything is. So Project Storm Fury, and they tried to weaken tropical cyclones by seeding clouds, seeding them with silver iodide, but it ultimately was a bit of failure. So anyway, I have some other windows out here. Okay, Santa Barbara. Okay, this is very well known to a lot of people, or to me, that Santa Barbara practices weather modification. And could this ultimately backfire on a place that does it? Okay, now this is, they say, debunked. Okay, notice of intent to perform weather modification. Okay, this is this site that has Mick West, who I guess he runs this site, and he debunks weather modification. See, look, Santa Barbara County Water Agency posts notice of weather, cloud seeding programs, whatever. It's just, you know, it has never stopped. Yet, the populace, the vulgar masses, don't open their blind eyes. And, okay, I want to show you what Mick West says over here. Debunked. But it's not debunked. All he says is they've always been doing it, so what's the big deal? So look at this. This is assumed to be something new, as they have not seen it before. And as it mentions weather modification, it's somehow taken as proof of ongoing geoengineering, and hence the chemtrail theory. So the problem is that this is simply cloud seeding. Okay, you see what I mean? He's saying it's no big deal because it's just cloud seeding. It's nothing new. Local municipalities have been doing it for decades and quite openly. In fact, such notices have also been occurring in newspapers for decades. The theorists have just never noticed them before. Here's the law in Washington. Okay, so it's more prominent and obvious now. That's one thing about they're using a new methods, techniques, or technologies. So it's more obvious, and we see it in the sky. So this guy debunking chemtrails is kind of, he's causing the cognitive dissonance because he's saying that it's no big deal, it's always been done. And there are, okay, here are some ads. Notice of intention to modify natural precipitation by artificial means. So companies that want to do this, they have to put an ad in the newspaper to let people know. Okay, here, sure, it's weather modification, but it's all been going on perfectly openly for over 60 years. Here's Santa Barbara talking about it since 1948. So, you get what I mean, right? Cloud seeding since 1948, and they're talking about it. So he's saying, why bother to talk about it when it's always been going on? What is the big freaking deal? Well, he's wrong, because It's a big deal because it's causing changes that are affecting millions of people. And what about those mudslides in Santa Barbara? Okay, so here is, this is all so famous about Beijing Weather Modification Office. Okay, so they're the leader in weather modification, but what as I understand it, when weather is modified in one place, that affects another place. And don't people say we're all connected? So how can people think that they can, like, cause precipitation in Santa Barbara and it won't do something somewhere else? And if they need precipitation so bad and it works so well, then why was California in a drought for years and years and years? Okay, China leads the world in weather modification. Well, they're not doing too good with their weather over there. So, now this is my video. This was January 1st. Just want to remind you that this was January 1st, and there were intense chemtrails during the fires, after the fires, and before the flood. And remember what Operation Popeye said: softens the roads, loosens the ground, causes mudslides. This is what it does. Why would they want to do that? Why do they want to do this to people? Well, they have their reasons. And so here is the person I was mentioning to you. This is Joanne Simpson, preeminent NASA scientist. Okay, so at the end of her life, she said, "Since I'm no longer affiliated with any organization nor receiving any funding, I can speak quite frankly. As a scientist, I remain skeptical. The main basis of the claim that man's release of greenhouse gases is the cause of the warming is based almost entirely upon climate models. We all know the frailty of models concerning the air surface system." So she studied clouds and sun and earth relationships for her whole career. And, you know, what's really interesting about her is that she, if somebody made a movie about her life, it would be so interesting, because she had lifelong depression. She was married 3 times. She was in a man's field, and she wrote books and articles on weather modification. Now, I read a bunch about her, and then she said she did write books. So just put that in, see what happens. So another thing I want to tell you about Santa Barbara is that, okay, here's her life. She, anyway, you know, she's someone to look into, because cloud systems, hurricanes, and the tropical rainfall. So if they've been doing, she was atmospheric scientist, Weather Modification Association. So it's not like we don't know all these things. But now I want to show you this. Santa Barbara. This is, beaches are closed in Santa Barbara now. Nearly all Santa Barbara beaches are open despite, okay, no, that's so old. Okay, that's 2015, sorry. Let's find the right one here. Let me just put Santa Barbara beaches closed 2018 because of bacteria, they are all closed. So this is how we get there, okay? KEYT official site. Okay, so this is a really good site to get up-to-date news about Santa Barbara. And one thing that was really interesting is I listened to a speech on here by the Army Corps of Engineers. And the Army Corps of Engineers, a general spoke, and even when I was in Summerland, some guy walked up to the police and he started talking about the civilians. Why don't they just say citizens instead of civilians? Because it's like it is martial law or something. I don't know what they're doing. So, okay, well, this has changed so much since I just looked at it that now it's not even here. But anyway, you can peruse this if you want because it is pretty good. Now, I don't know where that disappeared to, and I'm not going to make this video again because I'm kind of busy. So, I don't know what happened to that. Okay, let's see. Okay. Well, anyway, what else I was going to say about this is, when he talks about the Army Corps of Engineers talks about cooperating with FEMA, and I don't know why they don't have the closure of the beaches here. It was in a big yellow band on the top. Okay, so this is not an official video. This is just me talking to people, and these things can go wrong, okay? Interesting. Okay, well, sorry about that, but the thing is that weather modification is going on, okay? Okay, bye for now. Catch you later. Thank you for watching, and sorry about all those noisy, the noisy clicks, okay? God bless everyone.